Okay, we're on being recorded. So welcome everyone. This is the OpenJS Foundation Cross Project Council. Today is April 11th, 2023. Our trustee chair Giuseppe's on vacation. So I'm filling in for him as well as everyone else will back him up. So do we have any announcements today? Hailey, want to give an update on the events?
Yeah. So we are planning for OpenJS World, which is coming in May, and the day before is our OpenJS Collab Summit. The call for sessions is closing for that on April 16th. So if you want to speak at the Collab Summit, we've posted on our social. There's also a blog on it. So head over to our website for all the details there. And then registration still open for OpenJS World in May in Vancouver. We hope to see you there. Otherwise, we'll be planning for some other events later in the year in case you missed this one. And the CFP is open for OpenJS World Europe. So if you have a talk or maybe you missed the deadline for the Vancouver Summit, submit your talk for Europe, and I think that will be closing sometime in May. I don't have the exact date, but we also have that posted on our OpenJS blog as well. So head over to the blog and you can see all the deadlines and different links.
Great. And we still have our, I know you all have your CPC travel fund if you need help with travel. If you're active with the foundation or any of our projects, we have those resources available. So cool. All right. So let's see. First issue, the code of conduct patching script. Lots of activity, although we could just hit the PR and just do an all-up update on that body of work.
Yeah, so my understanding, it seems like there's a bit of a confusion around the process, which is what's delaying it. What's currently there and working is you make a pull request that changes the patch file and you merge it. And then the bot or whatever, the automated stuff will make a second pull request that contains the actual changes as a result from changing the patch file. And once we're confident that is all working, so theoretically that second pull request should just be merged immediately, like without, once it gets a stamp, but like without objections. Once we're confident that the machinery is working properly, then I think we would change it to not do that second PR at all. It's just directly push up changes after the first pull request is approved. Alternatively, the first pull request could be made to include the full changes. So in other words, we're waiting for somebody to weigh back in after they had expressed some concern. My hope and belief is that there's just a misunderstanding that once that's cleared up, we can move forward with it. But Yais has been very helpful with and has driven like almost the entirety of this work. So it's thanks to them.
So once the PR is approved, then it's written, it's done, it's ready to go. Yeah.
So in theory, like if we all have equivalent understanding, which we probably do not at the moment, but in theory at that point, yeah, we're done. We can start making changes to the code of conduct, and it will keep us in sync with the upstream source as we need, and we'll be able to know which version we're basing it off of and so on. That's it.
Quick question here. Keeping us updated with the upstream also requires a pull request on our end, right?
Yes, it's still manual.
Okay.
It's just it makes it
good,
much easier to know that we need to do an update and to actually do one. And potentially we could even automate it and be like, hey, the upstream changed, and have an issue automatically filed asking us to update the code of conduct or something. But that's future enhancements.
Any other questions? Maybe follow up with any folks who have questions or concerns by next week, and we can wrap this up would be good to have. Okay. All right. Next issue, Toby, I think you opened this issue. Should we have a co-chair?
Yeah, so I was just reflecting on the fact that we were having elections around for a change around a new chair, and that Joe has been a chair for like a very long time at this point, and it has obviously built a lot of know-how and sort of like on how this whole process works. And then it's very hard for anyone to sort of like even step up to say, hey, I'd be interested in that role, because like it's, you know, hard to sort of like figure out exactly what that role entails, even though like, you know, Joe has done actual work to specify what the role is about. And I was just wondering if it wouldn't be good to actually have, you know, a co-chairs, a chair and a vice chair, or however you want to call these things. To make it easier for the chair not to have to be there the whole time. B, to sort of like, you know, split the workload a bit, and C, to sort of have like some kind of like mentorship and sort of have a more of a long-term plan as to who the next chair is going to be. Then you know, whatever situation we're going to be in the day Joe says, well, I'm sorry, I'm out. So that was kind of like the idea behind this.
Thoughts? Joe, yeah, Joe does spend quite a lot of time on the chair work. We're grateful IBM allows him to do that as part of his day job. But I think a lot of you are pretty active as well, including doing it for your day job as well. So what do you think? I know I've been talking to Ben. We have the next thing on our list, and we're actually creating better documentation around the roles in the election. I think it's been clear as mud a little bit, and when new people step in. So I think if we're going to do it now might be a good time as we start to document, here's our roles, here's the time the election's open.
I think that would be a good job for the person that steps up to it, is help more clearly define the roles and responsibilities. Because if you say, Joe, could you do this? That's yet one more thing on his already too full plate. So I vote that would be a great idea.
Yeah, just to be clear, like Joe has actually documented the work of the chair, I think a year and a half ago. It's in the repository. So he already did a good job of doing that. But more concretely, I mean, I looked at the roles and I'm like, well, I wouldn't mind actually like learning about what chairing this is about and helping out. But like take this over from, like from one day to the other feels like a huge amount of work that I'm not sure, anyone's really ready to do. Plus, are we trying to sort of like compete for those roles or help each other out and make the whole thing work better? So I don't know, it just feels more collegial that way. That's kind of like, that was.
Yeah, and Toby, my suggestion was that the person that would take up this role would define that role, the co-chair role, instead of.
Oh, interesting. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask Joe. I wouldn't say, Joe, do this on top of everything else you're already doing, and maybe that's something the new person could do.
On the board, we have a chair and a vice chair. We typically don't fill the secretary and treasurer roles like others. We're still small enough, I think, that having a chair and a vice chair has sort of been enough for us. We'll see if we grow the board over time, how that would change. Oops, sorry about that. And Tierney, I'm trying to promote you to a panelist. I see you in the waiting room. So let's see. Here we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was on my phone and then switched to my computer, so the join as panelist button went away.
Oh, no worries. Any other thoughts on a vice chair? Do you want to noodle on it for some time?
Sorry about that. Also, my headset wasn't working for a moment. I'm sure you could hear me, but I couldn't hear you if you asked me a question.
Oh, no, wasn't asking you. We were on the issue. We were on issue 1043. Should we have a co-chair?
Okay.
Okay. Great. And that really essentially then falls into, we are in elections right now. The nomination window was closing last night, April 10th, 11:59, I believe, PM Pacific. The voting period is April 11th through the 17th. You should be hearing from Ben. We sometimes extend depending on the number of participants we get. I haven't checked in with, I haven't heard from Ben this morning, so we'll see what nominations he has. But I know just when you have new people stepping in and it's a new staff person whose job is it to focus 100% of the time on understanding our governance in our elections. And if it's confusing to that person, it tells me that we need to do a better job of documenting. And Ben already has sort of jumped in and started putting everything on paper, essentially, about the different roles, the election cycles and things like that, because it's really confusing.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, we got mail already. I mean, I got mail this
Are you-
morning on this topic.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I've been,
So, yeah.
cool.
No,
Oh, good, he's on it. All right.
Yeah, oh yeah, hell, he's on top
All
of
right.
things. I want, I want to underline it.
Yeah, I did actually just reply. So I got my ballot this morning, and then after that, I got an email from Ben. Who is voting on this one? Is it projects, or is it just voting members, CPC, or both? Or like,
For the board seat, it's the voting members.
yeah, okay. The email
I don't-
mentioned projects, so that was confusing.
Yeah, I don't think projects ever vote on something.
Okay, that's what I thought. But anyway,
Yeah.
thank you. That clarifies it.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. You can tell I was sucked into a different project this morning. Okay. Let's see. So moving on to issue 1029 from Ben Hutton. Is it okay to use Code of Conduct 2.1 before the OpenJS Foundation does? I believe we had discussed this 2 weeks ago, and we didn't have any concerns. Is there any other questions or comments? Maybe we should update, resolve the issue.
Yeah, do we want to keep it open for whenever we're actually on, or do we should just close it? We should just close it.
Yeah, I recommend we can close it and I can give Ben an update. Just for like context, the onboarding checklist, when a project is onboarding, we don't have to have every single box checked before a project graduates. Usually it's more, I call it sort of the bus factor things, like the domains have been transferred, the IP's been transferred, GitHub's sitting in the right place with more than one person who can access it if need be. But some of those other things can be worked on after graduation. So I know we'd like to get JSON schema graduated because, once you all vote to bring them in, I already sort of feel like they're part of the family. So just want to finish that and celebrate them in a graduation. Cool. All righty. What's next? I feel like we covered this one a couple of weeks ago too. Enabling payments for GitHub code spaces.
Yeah, so we officially started using it in the project. It works seamlessly. I was gonna actually reach out to the team to ask for like a personal update or status if they had any experiences. So I don't have anything yet. One thing that I think I'm gonna try and figure out is how to view the reporting for code space usage. Abby, you wouldn't know off the top of your head if that's possible at the org level, or like how I can monitor each person using it.
Yeah, it should be possible. We'll have to check with Craig for I don't know what buttons you're supposed to press, but
Sounds
it should be
good.
possible. Yeah.
That would be good. So then that way, like, my goal here is that the individual team members, contributors, members, and we also set it to outside collaborators. So like if we do have a good, like a collaborator and we want to enable them to be able to contribute easier or just give them a more powerful machine, we're going to do so. But I just want to understand month by month how much usage we're getting. So if we do hit the hard limit or we're getting close to it, then I can just reach out, whether it be in that GitHub issue or elsewhere, to increase the budget, you know, for that month or to track, you know, that specifically. So I think that will be like my to-do until the next meeting we have. Otherwise, it's going really great, and you know, I can't thank you all enough for making it happen so fast.
Cool. Do you want to put a quick update in the issue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, next up is creating documentation on our collaboration model. I think Matteo and I volunteered to take the pen with Claudio volunteering. I think we've been shipping a couple of other things in the past couple of weeks, so we haven't made progress on that. But if anyone wants to volunteer, we'll probably meet async to discuss that. Also using the conference as sort of a forcing function, so we can have some new, perhaps maybe before the conference, have some new, shared consensus language that we can use in our presentations. Cool.
Where do people sign up if they want to be involved in those calls?
Just drop me a Slack. I think is probably the best, and I'll try to coordinate async. We can talk about it. Okay. Let's see. We've covered the code of conduct tool, license check support tooling. I don't have an update on that, but I'm actually working with the person who manages that feature in LFX right now on something for Node.js. So I'll follow up with him on that, because that was something that we'd like to get worked into the LFX dashboard, which was the intent. Sound good, Michael? Does that sound right for you?
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Okay. That, I think we covered the CPC issues. I did want to flag that the Secure the Web Forward workshop, which is issue 213, the proposals, call for proposals are open through April 24th, I believe. And again, that's sort of a unique, I wouldn't call it like a conference, typical conference event. It is a workshop. Space is limited to about 120. So anyone who attends, we want you to be prepared to come and have really interactive discussions on proposals that people bring forth. So, we'd like to have at least half of those people attending be participating in some active proposals, and the other half really ready to learn and contribute. So it'll be quite interesting. I think Joe and I are going to propose we talk about some of the security collab space work and get feedback from some of these standards experts, but that's June 7th and 8th. And again, we do have travel funding support for folks who need it, and to be a subject matter expert and participate in standards conversations representing the OpenJS Foundation.
Yeah, and as I said, I think in the standards group, if anyone wants help to sort of like bridge the gap between working on code and speaking in the standards space, I'm more than happy to offer to help people do the write up or know a little more about what they're to expect. And I do want to point out that it's those workshops are a great way to get sort of in that space between being more of a coder and being more on the standards side. Also, because they're very keen on getting use cases usually. And so having that kind of input from practitioners is actually very useful. So hit me up if you want some help with.
Great, Sean?
Yeah, I was curious, are we officially a what WG organization member? Like,
No.
okay, so one of my interests in the past is that, you know, Webpack wanted to like be an active participating and voting member at organizations like TC39. And this is not possible unless we join as a what WG member, or the organization.
That is
or
not
the,
for TC39. That's not true. We are a member of ECMA, I believe.
oh,
and we
ECMA, ECMA, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I always mix them up. But yes, so are we a member of ECMA?
Yeah,
believe so,
the way to become a TC39 delegate for the OpenJS Foundation is participate in our standards group meetings. And then once you've established some participation, you can request to become a delegate. And
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And we already have sent a delegate for years. So, and you can also, you don't even have to attend if you don't want to. You can also pass things through that way.
Awesome, awesome. I know in addition to like the TC39 tooling meetings, you know, there was some interest in some of our newer contributors and maintainers to be able to have a say or vote or be a delegate, have those responsibilities. So, okay, cool. So I will look at joining those meetings so that we can establish, you know, that rapport so that maybe we can potentially go as a delegate.
Sounds good.
It's great. It's a great group. We are a paid member of W3C, but on TC39, for example, we sponsored Leah Veru. Well, the standards working group folks helped nominate her and get her into TC39, which is pretty cool. So
Perfect.
yeah, there's a lot of great work. We have folks from TC39, W3C, and Unicode Consortium, and TC53 participating in our standards working group.
Cool.
I mean, in theory, since we're a member of ECMA, we could participate in any of their TCs, but you know,
Right.
there's only a few of them that are relevant to JavaScript.
Right. Toby?
Yeah, and I do want to point out, because what WG was mentioned, that you can participate to what WG directly. But that, you know, if there was a need for OpenJSF to become a member of what WG, that would also be fairly straightforward to organize. So, you know, if that ever becomes a thing, it's also very, very doable. There are no fees, and it's just essentially a clarity around the sort of how the IP moves from contributors to the organization itself.
So the standards working group meeting is on our public calendar. So we alternate the standards working group meeting with the security cloud space meeting. So it's adjacent to this every time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Also, there's a Slack channel on the OpenJS
Yeah.
community for standards. That would be the best place to go as well.
Yeah, lots of robust discussions on that Slack channel too. So it's good. Cool. Let's see. Anything else? I'm looking in the PRs.
Oh, there's someone to promote, Ron.
I don't know if I missed those, but I see 786 that I don't think we touched on, but I think we might want to have a conversation that are at the bottom of the list of the issues. For me, it just felt like your list was shorter. I don't know if that's the case. And also
okay, yeah.
And also Sarah's issue on the third board seat that we discussed a while back, like, and that she opened an issue was.
I missed it. Hi, Yogi.
Hello, sorry, I was at the lobby and trying to join in.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, okay. I think I'm going to take an action, put this in notes, to turn this into a regular meeting instead of a webinar. So, because sometimes it's hard when you're multiple screens tracking. Okay. great. So maybe before we jump into the clarify the requirements, thanks for catching those, Toby. Yeah, Geese, we covered the issue, the first issue and the first part of the meeting about the patching script. Jordan?
I was a little bit late and I missed that. So if you can like quickly tell me, and then I want to share some feedback on that too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can.
George gave
My
a
summary
quick
was
update.
basically that I explained the way the process is supposed to work and how we eventually want to get rid of the 2PR thing, but once we're sure it's working, and that the hope is that it's just misunderstandings, and we're waiting to hear back from him, from the folks who had pushed back to clear up any misunderstandings.
Yeah. So there was misunderstanding, and the pull request that was opened by the bot was blocked. And because it was blocked, I opened another pull request to apply those changes. But regardless, that change that was proposed initially by, I think, Tierney was already merged and approved, and the new pull request was giving the false assumption that it was open for review. So we are kind of in block. So if you can give some feedback about the documentation that I've written for the patching script, I would greatly appreciate it. If we are aligned on what those things are, then we can move forward and merge the existing. So, but the open pull request by the GitHub action shows us that it's working well. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Any other questions for Yagis on this?
I think Jordan said very nice things about you leading this and doing all of the work for this, and I think this should be repeated in your presence.
Yes.
So thank you very much for leading and actually doing the work here. Very appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. But like, I would, it wouldn't be good if I didn't mention Joe, which is not here. But like, we did it together. So thank you again.
Appreciate it. Amazing. Okay. So issue 786, clarify requirements around the code of conduct violation.
Well, I think this is around the work that Joe also made a document on recently. So I'm assuming we'll have another session on this.
Yeah, we're going to have a working session. I believe Joe used the last working session and we did some async feedback. And I know he used part of that working session, I think, with Yagis on the tool. But we had Joanna Lee from CNCF and the Linux Foundation come and share some of the work in progress and best practices that they're learning from their work in Kubernetes and CNCF. And so we've taken that plus some conversations in our OpenJS working sessions, and Joe has consolidated it into a nice, concise doc. So great. If you have any feedback, I think we're going to continue to work on that. All right. Going for Sarah's issue. Maybe it's not in our agenda, this Sarah's issue.
I have 1054. Yeah, I think it's in the doc, but not in the issue. I'm confused.
Yeah. Okay. So this is quite relevant too, as I've talked about sort of documenting and simplifying our election. So anybody who steps in can understand where we are. Our bylaws sometimes are clear as mud, written by attorneys, and we're always sort of gut checking ourselves on use cases. But we do have a third board seat that is not in use because the way our bylaws were written, it was written for an individual member. We have decided not to have individual members. We have JavaScript land yes supporters who are not voting members. The membership requirement in our bylaws is set at 2,000. So, oftentimes I'm chasing folks down for quorum, which is over 50%. So imagine trying to chase down quorum on 2,000 individuals. So the idea is like, should we take that third seat and propose a bylaw change to use it to better represent the community? Some foundations under the LF use it for, they just call it at large. Some use them for diversity. So really, it's up to the sort of the community and the board. And then if there's any bylaw change, we bring it to our members' legal counsel for feedback as well. But this is something I've been wanting to have as well, because we have a lovely working board. Abby's on it right now, and having more voices is always a good thing. Toby?
This feels a bit like the co-chair question. And it feels like we sort of would need to get to some agreement and then sort of decide on like the next steps to actually do it if we want to do it. And I'm wondering if we need a work session to have agreement, or we have some form of agreement, or sort of like what the plan is for these different things.
It's a good idea. You know, we have a primary director, a secondary director, and one represents the CPC and one represents the projects. And if I think I quizzed us all, would we know which one is which and what the difference is? No.
There's an election right now, and I don't know. I'm running for it, and I don't know which one it is. I'm going to be very honest here.
There we go.
I don't think I totally heard the question, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I can answer it. You said the difference between the two.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I could answer that.
I'll give it a try.
So the question is the difference between chair and
Primary director and secondary director.
Oh,
But nice try.
yeah. Is there a difference?
Which one represents the projects and which one represents the CPC?
Yeah, no, I don't know that. Yeah, I thought
What's
I
the
thought you were asking
difference in
between
those two roles?
Joe's role and the directors. I'm like, that's not that's not what I have an answer to though. Yeah, I don't know.
I think
Does it
depends
matter?
if you depends
Does
if
it
you check the
matter?
charter or the bylaws. I think it's
Oh.
actually not the same in both. If the last time I looked, I thought it was funny. Does it matter? I don't know.
I don't think
We
that
should
matters.
decide if it.
I
There's a
feel like
charter.
it doesn't matter. Because like realistically, they're both elected by the CPC. The CPC should be a representation of the projects. There's no like saying this one represents this thing and this one represents this other thing is not. They're representing the same thing. I don't think that's a useful distinction at all.
So I 100% agree with you, and I also think that we should simplify the language around this to make sure that like we don't have this conversation every 6 months.
I agree.
I actually wrote a memo my six months into my job here, and I never sent it. I called it Operation Plain Speak on how to simplify our governance. And it's a big job. But I reread it yesterday with Ben, and I wrote it 3 years ago, and it's the same. So, I mean, one, it's confusing and time consuming, but I think it also becomes a barrier to new people participating if they think, oh gosh, I think we've joked in the past, do I need a PhD in governance to participate? Well, no way. So, yeah, okay.
Not to participate,
Since when has any
but to
form
know
of
how.
governance? Yeah. Since when has any form of governance been solely designed by people who know what they're doing?
Okay. Well, I think you all know what you've been doing because you've been doing it well for a long time. So I think my goal, and I know Ben, with Ben's help, we're going to try to work on simplifying our governance.
Yeah, the governance doesn't say anything about one representing the CPC and one representing the project.
I'm pretty sure the charter does.
Why? Why? Wait, no, I'm reading the charter. Never mind. I clicked the link from.
So then the bylaws, it says that somewhere, I
Yeah.
promise.
Yeah.
So what do we do as a third one though? Because that's the topic. I mean, it's nice to sort of like joke a little bit about governance, but
Are we at?
we
Are we
have-
at? Sorry, go ahead.
no.
Are we at 2,000 members, or will we ever be at 2,000 members? Is that a realistic
No, we
goal?
don't have individual members.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
that not what the JS Landia thing is?
Nope, those are supporters.
Okay.
Because if we didn't want to create a member class at that point to try to chase down quorum for voting, so.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
So
I just
if I
say
remember,
we convert this to a third seat and have one set of rules for all three. Sorry, go ahead, Toby.
no, yes, that was the conversation we had, and I think we're in agreement about this. Can we actually formalize this agreement and then do the work?
So I don't know if we have a topic on our next working session, as long as we can get some async work done or some approvals and blocks unblocked on the code of conduct tool and script. But yeah, I'm happy. I would love to do this from a working session. So,
How many voting members do we have here? I know Michael
off
dropped
of my head, I think it's 14 used to be at the top of my head.
Sorry, I mean in the meeting.
Oh, today.
Yeah, so Sean, myself. We don't have Rich. We don't have Joe.
Me.
Sean.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going like reverse up the. I'm doing in a really weird way. So that's 4.
I think I might be a voting member.
Yeah. You are a voting member. 5. Yeah, so we do not have quorum for what is them? Is it just simple majority? Is that how we define quorum?
Mhm. Yeah, our website is up to date if you really want to see our voting members from the from elected and essentially appointed by the impact projects.
So we need 8, but I mean, do we just want, like, legitimately, I feel like we can just put out a vote to say, hey, can we simplify this into one definition? Like, I feel like that is like a relatively, I don't know if we need to spend an hour or like a full session on like figuring that out.
The other way would just be to ask, does everyone want simplification? And then like we actually do the work and then we vote on the PR, which I think is more
Yep.
like the way we do things usually.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
But
too.
is
Yeah.
everyone sort of like happy to get rid of this thing and
Yes.
simplify it?
I'd say 100%. I don't know. 100% of the people on this call right now.
So let's do it. I mean, let's just do the thing.
Let's do the thing. Okay.
Well, and to be clear, it's not that it, like, given that everyone on the call is okay with it, you'd need like such a large number of people to object. Like that, I think we can make an educated guess as to whether that's likely.
I
We still
don't think
have
Mike.
the
Sorry, go ahead.
You say just anytime we have a bylaw change, there is a process that we do go through. But having the consensus from the community is essentially the tail that wags the dog. So
Yeah, I don't think Eric will object. I don't think Rich or Joe will object. I guess Sean could speak to Tobias's potential objection. I don't
believe
think
so. No.
yeah. I don't think Amelia will object. I think Amelia will probably have very positive or very good feedback that will refine it. But I don't think he will object. I don't think Michael will object. So like by that, we already have simple majority. So I think we're fine on this, just knowing the people who are around. Cool. So yeah, who wants to? Hey Toby, you want to go do some charter work?
I mean,
And,
removing
bylaws
lines
work?
of codes or lines of text is something that I enjoy doing quite a bit. So yeah, sure, removing stuff, absolutely. I will delete all of those paragraphs.
Is there a doc, like a Google Doc? Because this also requires bylaw revisions. Is there a Google Doc that we can like make a copy of, not fork, but make a copy of to like have proposed changes?
I can just copy paste the bylaws in the Google Doc. Like
Well, so oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, cool.
and suggest a change in there, and then we can whoever whoever is the director that is can just well, maybe Sarah can just take this to the board and have that conversation there. I think like the only sort of like small bit that we need to talk about that I think Robin, you suggested, I'm not sure if you were suggesting this, would be to have a plan for if there's 100 project like in 2 years, that sort of like directors match the number of projects like they do for silver members or whatever the thing is. I think that would be interesting. I don't know if there's if that would be harder to get approved or if there's like more language about this.
Yeah, just yeah, for context, for those who missed it, our silver membership, we get 1 director for every 10 silver members. So that's why we doubled up our silver members last year, is because we have twice as many silver memberships. You know, and what I'll do is I'll speak with Andy Updegrove, who's our attorney, and he works with a lot of foundations across the LF, and I can ask for some proposed language. Again, we would take this through our member legal counsel anytime there's a bylaw change, and then go to the board. But understanding, I'm feeling like I understand the essence of what you all want to achieve, and putting that in whatever language that we have into a doc would be helpful for then the attorneys to put it into the appropriate legal language. But simple, still simple.
Okay.
Cool. Great. Anyone want to summarize that in issue? Don't know, raise your hand.
Yeah.
I can
I'll do
try to
that.
summarize it. You want to do it? I was gonna say I can try. I
I
can take
don't
a
want to
stab.
do it. I offer it. So that's not the same thing.
I would appreciate it. I would gladly take your offer, Toby. Thanks. Cool. All right. Any other business? No. Okay. Well, if that's it, we will have a little bit of work to do, but I appreciate y'all being here for all your great work. Right. Catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.